Denver, 20:13 a.m. The gym was empty except for one man and one sound, a jump rope hitting concrete like a countdown. Eli had been training for this fight for 8 years. 8 years of no days off. 8 years of motivation quotes. 8 years of telling himself pain was proof. And then, with 12 seconds left in the final round, he made the mistake that ends careers. Not a technical mistake, a human one. He hesitated. His opponent saw it and smiled like he'd been waiting for that hesitation his whole life. The punch that followed didn't just drop Ellie, it erased him. When Eli woke up, he couldn't remember his own entrance song. But he could remember the silence. The kind of silence you only hear when people are watching you realize you were never disciplined. You were just busy. That night, Eli learned the truth nobody puts on posters: discipline doesn't build your life. It replaces the person living it. And if you're not careful, it replaces you with someone you don't recognize. By the end of this story, you understand the 5 seals, the line between people who train and people who become dangerous. Tichiwach UP morning came too early. Eli stared at the ceiling of his apartment, bruises blooming across his ribs like dark ink. His phone was face down on the nightstand. He didn't need to look to know what was there. Messages that weren't really messages. Head up. You'll get next time. Still proud of you. Pity disguised as kindness. Worse than hate. He sat up slowly. The room spun. His mouth tasted like copper and regret. On the kitchen table was the thing he couldn't stop staring at: his hand wraps. Still stiff with sweat, like they were accusing him. He'd built his identity around the grind. But last night proved something brutal. When it mattered, his body didn't obey his beliefs. He got dressed and walked to the only place that still felt honest: Coach Mara's gym. Not a chain gym. Not neon lights and smoothies. A concrete box that smelled like rubber mats and consequences. He opened the door, the bag work stopped. Not dramatically, not rude, just a pause. Eyes glanced toward him, then away. Not because they hated him. Because watching someone fail at their dream makes people nervous about their own. Eli moved toward the back corner where the almost good guys train. He wrapped his hands slow. Hit the heavy bag. Left. Hook. Technically fine. He could feel it. He wasn't training, he was rehearsing. Like Coach Mara's voice, no anger. No comfort, just reality. My office. In her office. Mara didn't sit behind the desk like a boss. She sat on the floor. 2 bottles of water, 2 towels. Like this wasn't a lecture. Like it was a funeral. Show me your hands, she said. Eli held them out. Calloused, but not destroyed. Mara stared at them a long time. Then she said, "You want the truth?" Eli swallowed. "Yes. You didn't lose because you're not talented," he exhaled, almost relief. Mara cut it off instantly. "You lost because your discipline has been comfortable." The word hit harder than the punch. Eli clenched his jaw. "I train every day." Mara nodded. "You train every day in a way that lets you keep being the same person." Silence. She leaned closer. "Real discipline doesn't make you better. It makes you different." Eli looked down. "So what am I missing?" Mara stood and pulled a small metal case from the cabinet, scuffed, old, heavy. She opened it. Inside were 5 plain items, each wrapped in cloth. No trophies. No medals. Just tools. "Most people think discipline is one thing," she said. "A schedule." She placed the first cloth-wrapped item on the floor. "It's not. It's 5, Eli frowned. 5 what? Mara's eyes hardened. 5 seals. 5 phases that either turn you into someone new or break you. She pushed the first item toward him. "You start tomorrow. 3 hours before sunrise." Eli's throat tightened. Mara's voice lowered. "And bring the mouthguard you wore in that fight." Eli blinked. "Why?" "Because we're gonna burn it." Eli stared at her. Mara didn't blink. "The version of you that wore it died in that cage." Seal Oni Et Lugir 30:41 a.m. Eli stood outside the gym in the dark, breath fogging, keys shaking in his hand. The city was asleep. And for the first time, he realized how much he used sleep as an escape. Inside, Mara was already there. No warm-up talk. She slid a notebook toward him. Blank pages. "The lead," she said. Eli stared at it. "A journal." Mara looked disgusted by the word. "No, data." She tapped the first page. "Today you're going to measure how often you disappear." Eli's eyebrow twitched. "Disappear." Mara pointed at his chest. "You think you're present. You're not. Most people live like they're watching their own life through dirty glass." She set a timer on the floor. "Your first drill is simple. Count your breaths." Eli almost laughed. Mara didn't smile. "Count them for 1 hour. If you lose count, you write down exactly what stole your attention." Eli sat, closed his eyes. Breath 1, 2, 3 by 7. He was thinking about the fight. He opened his eyes. Mara held out a pen without a word. Eli wrote, "Lost count, shame." He tried again. Breath 1, 2, 3. At 9, anger. At 12, hunger. At 4, a memory of his opponent's smile. The hour ended. Eli opened his eyes like he'd been underwater. He'd lost count 22 times. Mara looked at the page and nodded like she'd expected worse. "Now you understand the first seal," she said. "You don't need more motivation." She leaned closer. "You need to stop vanishing." Eli's voice was quiet. "Is this what discipline is, counting?" Mara shook her head. "This is what discipline begins. The humiliation of seeing yourself clearly." Train. T-star Gvartai Sly fra 2 weeks into the ledger. Eli's life felt like it was being audited by someone ruthless. He tracked everything. How often he checked his phone. How often he ate without tasting. How often he lied small lies. "I'm fine. I'll start tomorrow." Just one more episode. He realized something terrifying. He didn't have a bad habit problem. He had an avoidance problem. And avoidance wasn't laziness. It was fear wearing comfortable clothing. On a Monday morning, Mara walked into the gym with someone Eli had never seen. A tall woman in a faded hoodie, gray hair tied back tight, hands like stone. She moved like she didn't waste motion on being seen. Mara said, "This is June." June's eyes were calm in a way that felt dangerous. "She's going to test your first seal," Mara said. Eli swallowed. How June tossed him a pair of gloves. "Light-sparing," she said. Eli put them on. June stepped in. And then, without warning, she touched his forehead with a jab so fast he didn't even register the punch. "Not hard. Just humiliating," June said. "Name what you felt 1 second before that landed." Eli blinked. "That's surprise." June shook her head. "That's after. Try again." Eli's breath caught. Right before it landed, he wanted to look away. He didn't want to be wrong. He swallowed. Embarrassment. June nodded. "Again." She tapped him again. Eli's guard came up too late. "What did you feel?" Eli forced honesty. "I wanted you to go easy." June's mouth didn't smile. Again. For 20 minutes, June didn't beat him up. She revealed him. Every time Eli got touched, he had to name the truth. Doubt, ego, fear of looking stupid, anger at being watched, need for approval. Finally, June stepped back. Eli was sweating like he'd run a mile. June said, "Most people don't lose fights because they can't punch." She tapped his chest lightly. "They lose because they're negotiating with discomfort the entire time." Then she turned to Mara. "He's ready for SEAL 2, June said. And without another word, she walked out. Eli stared after her. Mara watched him. "You think you're training to fight other men?" Mara said. Eli didn't answer. Mara's voice lowered. "You're training to fight the part of you that begs to stay safe." SEAL Tiguti Riviar. Mara took Eli outside the city. Not to a mountain temple, not to some dramatic place, to a water treatment by pipes, fences. A narrow canal ran behind it, water moving fast, cold and different. Mara pointed. "Sit." Mara said, "Don't meditate. Don't calm down. Just watch the water." For hours, Eli watched the current hit obstacles and never argue. It didn't get angry at rocks. It didn't stop to complain. It didn't post about its mindset. It just moved. When his legs went numb, when boredom screamed, when his mind tried to escape, Mara said one sentence. "Do you see how it wins?" Eli's eyes stayed on the current. "It doesn't fight," he said. Mara nodded. "SEAL 2 is the river. Your plan doesn't matter. Your schedule doesn't matter." She pointed to the water. "Reality will hit you. Your job is to keep moving anyway." That night she changed his training. No more set reps. Instead, work until your body says stop. Eli nodded. "And then," Mara added, "you work 5 more minutes." Eli's stomach tightened. "Why?" Mara's voice was quiet. "Because that's where you meet the part of yourself that quits." Tisha Splutesar Dum. A month later, Mara announced a gym showcase. A local sports sponsor was visiting money that would keep the gym alive. Everyone was nervous. Everyone except Eli. Not because he was fearless. Because fear had become familiar. A notification in the corner of his mind, not a steering wheel. The sponsor arrived with an assistant and a bored expression. The first fighters performed perfect combinations. Sharp. Empty. The sponsor nodded politely like he was watching a commercial. Then Eli stepped on the mat. The room quieted. He started simple, jab, cross, slip. But something was different. He wasn't performing to be seen. He was present like the world was trying to kill him and he wasn't offended by it. No wasted movement, no mental conversation, just action. The sponsor leaned forward. "Slow it down," he said. Eli slowed down. The quality didn't drop. That's what shocked everyone. The sponsor asked, "How long have you been training like this?" Eli answered honestly, "8 years training." 5 weeks awake, silence. The sponsor smiled for real this time. "Whatever you're doing," he said, "keep doing it. You've got something." After the sponsor left, the gym celebrated. Eli didn't. He stood by the heavy bag, breathing. Mara approached. "You passed SEAL 2, she said. Eli looked at her. "So I'm ready." Mara's eyes turned cold. You're ready for the part most people don't survive. Eli swallowed. What part? Mara reached into the metal case again. Unwrapped the third item. A match. She held it between two fingers like a verdict. Seal 3, she said. Fire. CL Terry fire. Mara didn't teach Eli to control anger. She taught him something more dangerous, to stop pretending he didn't have it. Your rage isn't the enemy, she said. Your fear of it is. Eli didn't want to admit it, but he'd been training to feel clean. To feel like a good man. Mara forced a different truth. Sometimes the clean version of you is the weak version. She made him do the hardest drills on the days he felt least like it. She took away his favorite routine. She changed sparring partners without warning. She made his training unpredictable. Eli hated it. That was the point. Then, one night, Mara said, "We're going back to the place you lost." Eli's face tightened. She meant the venue. The cage, the lights, the silence. Eli didn't speak. Mara said, "If you can't stand inside your worst moment without flinching, you don't own your mind. Your mind owns you." They went. The arena was empty now, quiet, echoing. Eli stepped onto the platform. His stomach turned. The memory rose up like a wave. Mara's voice came from behind him. "Tell me what you feel." Eli's jaw clenched. "Shame." Mara nodded. "Good. Now convert it." Eli turned. Mara stepped closer. Into fuel. Eli stared at the empty seats. And for the first time, he didn't try to talk himself out of feeling it. He let it burn. Not as self-hate, as refusal. "I'm not doing that again," he said quiet. Mara's eyes sharpened. "That?" she said, "Fire. Fire your wind." Seal 4 didn't feel heroic. It felt like humiliation. Mara told Eli to do something that made no sense to the gym. He had to train with beginners. He had to hold pads, clean mats, teach footwork, stay quiet. No speeches about mindset. No, alpha energy. Just service. Eli hated it at first because it attacked his identity. He wanted to be seen as special. Mara crushed that. "One teaches you," she said, "that you are not the center of your own story." Eli asked, "So what's the lesson?" Mara looked at him. "You're not training to be admired. You're training to be effective." The more he helped beginners, the clearer it got. Most people don't need inspiration. They need structure. They need truth. They need someone who doesn't lie to them. And Eli realized something that stung for years. He'd used discipline as a way to feel superior. Now he was learning discipline as a way to become useful. That shift changed everything. Seal VVVO'd 6 months after his loss. Mara sent Eli away alone, not to a mountaintop, to the edge of the city where the highway noise never stops. A cheap motel, a folding chair, a blank wall. Mara's instruction was simple: sit. No phone, no music, no plan. On day 1, Eli felt restless. On day 2, he felt angry. On day 3, he felt sick. And then it hit him, the thought that made him freeze. This never ends. Not the training, not the work. Not the war against distraction and weakness. There is no arrival where life becomes easy. Eli felt the panic rise. He wanted to run back to the old lie. Just grind until you win, then you can relax. But that lie had cost him everything. He sat there with the terror of forever. And something inside him surrendered. Not surrendered to defeat. Surrendered to the truth. He whispered to the empty room, "I accept that this is my life, not as punishment, as a path." In that moment, something went quiet, not the world, him. And in that quiet, he understood the final seal. Void isn't emptiness. It's freedom from needing it to end. Each coast. A year later, Eli fought again. People expected a comeback story. They wanted drama. They wanted the old Eli redeemed. But the old Eli never returned. He walked into the cage calm, not confident like a performance. Calm like weather. His opponent tried to intimidate him. Eli didn't react. The bell rang. Eli didn't rush. He didn't show off. He didn't hesitate. Because hesitation is what happens when you're still protecting an identity. And Eli didn't have one to protect anymore. When he won, there was cheering. But Eli barely heard it. Because the real win happened months ago in a cheap motel chair, staring at a blank wall, accepting forever. Later that night, a young fighter approached him, eyes bright, voice shaking. "Man, how do I get your discipline?" Eli studied him for a long moment. Then he said the truth nobody wants to hear. "You don't get it." He handed the kid a mop. "Start here. Clean the mat. If you can do that like it matters, you can do anything like it matters." The kid looked confused. Eli nodded. "Most people want discipline to make life feel good." He paused. "But the real version doesn't make you happy." He tapped his chest once. "It makes you present, and presence makes you effective." Eli looked back at the gym, at the bags, the beginners. Then he said the line that ends the story the way it started: "Discipline doesn't improve your life." He held the mop like a sword. "It replaces you. And if you survive the replacement, you don't become perfect. You become awake."